Marxist approach to religion can be understood that Marx has generalized the uh, consequences of religion according to his viewpoint, and he has reduced religion to a myth or to an illusion which helps human beings in a short term way, and it relieves us of the pain as we have discussed in the last clip. Uh, various it solves this problem of pain in various ways. First of all, the concept of life after death. So this point that we will keep on living, and ultimately injustices and the cruelties and the oppressions and the sufferings would ultimately find an answer, and ultimately there would be justice after death. So this is the major consolation for people who are suffering and who are under exploitation, and therefore this doctrine of life after death, or even if there is no justice, at least there would be a happy life as such. And the people who are suffering, they are more likely to join that life as compared to the people who are oppressors. uh, this has been emphasized by all the major religious traditions according to Marxist. And then suffering itself is a virtue. uh, the people who are poor, people who are serving, poor people serving their masters, the feudal lords, for example. So if they do it in a good way, in good conscience, in good faith, they perform their task, they would have a reward in the hereafter. So again, the concept of hereafter, which highlights the significance of work for the people who are serving their masters. And then religion justifies the order in this way, that God has created the rich and the poor, and therefore the whole social structure and the social caste system, for example, in India, that has a sanction, religious sanction, and therefore Marxists say that this helps to maintain the status quo, and therefore religion is used sometimes as an instrument by the bourgeois to continue that social structure. Then there is always a hope of divine intervention, that there a time would come when suffering would increase. So still they pray to God, and ultimately a help can come at any time. So there is an ultimate help which would be after the death, and even in this time span, lifetime, there can be a help. So in this way, the whole religious structure basically, we can say, according to Karl Marx, that it creates a particular mindset. And he says that even bourgeois class, they buy this religious theory to maybe delude themselves, so that they can delude others. So it's not just proletariat who buy religious theories. But of course, this is a big question, that why, because bourgeois should not have basically needed those pills, those painkillers of religious tablets, because they shouldn't have any pain. And we, in religious history of different traditions, we have uh, enough data which proves that people, individuals from upper classes, kings, even Buddha, for example, he was a prince. So there have been people in Islamic tradition, there have been people in Christian tradition, so who renunciated their worldly life, and they searched for the greater meaning of life, and in this way they had to even renounce their estate and their kingdom and all those worldly privileges. So this is a big question mark. Then Marxist theory cannot explain why this happens, but we should understand Marxism, and then we can have it. criticism, uh, Marx also says that religion is a conservative force. It helps, it is status quoist in nature, therefore, it hinders every social change. It is in the nature of religion to justify the order as it is. So, but Engels, Frederick Engels, the comrade of Karl Marx, he differs from Karl Marx. He has written a book on the history of early Christianity. In his work on the history of early Christianity, he has proven that early Christianity was basically a kind of political movement against the Roman oppression, and it helped people to basically organize themselves and to make a protest, and therefore religion can be dynamic, it can be revolutionary. So this is a topic in which we can find evidence on both sides, whether religion is dynamic or conservative. So we can find sociological evidence on both sides. In recent years, for example, there have been many revolutions in the name of religion. We have Iranian revolution, which basically challenged the, you can say, monarchy, a right-wing system. Similarly, there have been different groups from Catholic Church in Latin America. They developed a theology which is called liberation theology. So liberation theology also challenged many dictatorships, right-wing dictatorships. So so religion sometimes can be revolutionary, and although sometimes it is being used by the upper classes, there is evidence for both of these. So it means that religion, perhaps, it is more like it's more like poetry or more like art, that art has been used by the upper classes for their own interests. There have been poets, even journalism is like this. There are journalists who support the status quo, but there are journalists and there are artists who are with the resistance movements, who have been founders of resistance movements. They have written work, they have written poetry to challenge the uh, current regime. So it means that Marxism does not essentially define religion. It is not concerned with or does not take pains to understand religion. Basically, this was not Marx's purpose to understand religion. His purpose was to develop a meta narrative, a big theory about society and how it changes, about history, and in the development of that theory, he just has assigned a particular role to religion. In his drama, you can say, religion is just a character which suits according to the plot which he has developed. So it's not an effort really to understand religion. To say that religion is conservative, to say that religion is an instrument in the hands of the bourgeois, is not different from saying that art is it's an instrument in the hands of bourgeois. But what is art actually? What is the origin of art? What is the nature of art? So on these questions, this saying this, that art is just an instrument, would not help. It is not enough to say that. So similarly, what is religion in its essence? Marxism does not explain that. So we will discuss in the next lecture Max Weber, who has tried to understand religion a little bit in detail when he tries to explain how religion can lead to social change, just the opposite of Karl Marx. Thank you very much.